Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Grant GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday, September 11, 2025 edition of WrestleRant Radio here today. You are not seeing things. I am flying solo for today's episode. Mr. Marceau on assignment. He should be back next week for next week's grand episode predicting the all-out pay-per-view in WWE WrestlePalooza. So stay tuned for that next Thursday. But we have a lot to talk about here today as well on WrestleRant Radio. Thank you guys so much for tuning in live. As always, those either watching after the fact or here live on the broadcast on YouTube, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let's start off as always. New episodes every single Thursday. Like I said, you can find the video version first here on YouTube before it goes out on audio version on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all major podcast platforms. But what I was about to say was, as we start out with the streams every single Tuesday and Thursday, shout outs to our channel members here on the WrestleRant channel. First and foremost, Alexis, Miss Mod Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1. Follow him on the IG, at Swerve1 on IG, W-O-N that is. Daniel Malcolm, at letter I, letter M, quarter on X, I'm quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself, find him on the Twitter machine, follow him, at RJ_Marceau. John Ritland, right here on YouTube, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Subscribe to his channel, he does great content, as does Richie. Check him out as well, at Red Planet Wrestling, right here on YouTube. And last but not least, Average Grunt. He is at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. Follow him for all of his wrestling muzzings over there. I think that's how you pronounce the word. But nonetheless, folks, thank you so much for tuning in as always. If you want to support the channel, you can become an aforementioned channel member. For only $5 a month, you can unlock the WrestleRant All Access Pass. To get content, you can get content early and ad-free for specific episodes of WrestleRant Ranks, hashtag GSM for GM, WrestleRant Radio excerpts, book reviews, and so much more. So, like, for example, this Sunday, I'm not sure if it's going to go up early for subscribers. It might, it should, we'll see. But regardless of whether you're a channel member or not, this Sunday, my WWE Unreal Season 1 review finally drops. I finally watched the show, finally caught up on it. I watched the first episode like a month and a half ago when the show first dropped on Netflix, and I finally caught up on all of it as of earlier this week. So my review of WWE Unreal, for those interested, check it out this Sunday on the channel. Like I said, might go up early and ad-free for subscribers, or rather channel members, and then available for everyone else for all the other subscribers a little bit later on in the day on Sunday. So check that out when you get a chance. But like I said, you get early and ad-free content. You get top billing on shows like hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio if you are a channel member, as well as shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel, badges and emojis and the live chats, and so much more. So if you want to support the channel, please check that out in the description box down below. And at the very least, just like this video. If you're watching live or after the fact, I would really appreciate it. Just hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, hit that little bell button, and you'll be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and every single time we upload new content. I think that's about it. You can also check us out over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. Get a WrestleRant t-shirt. We have a WrestleRant t-shirt, a WrestleRant Christmas shirt, a WrestleRant Halloween shirt. It's officially September. We're getting to that Halloween mode. A lot of people start putting up the Halloween decorations now. Listen, I get it. Fall Halloween season for a lot of people starts early September. Fuck that. For me, it's October 1st. I said this to Alexis. I will say this again. I say this every year, all right? Halloween for me starts October 1st. I can understand people wanting to start early. I totally get it. But for me, it's October 1st. You could start now. But if you want to start now, go cop whatever the fucking word is, a WrestleRant Halloween shirt over at ProWrestlingTees.com. Check it out right now. ProWrestlingTees, facebook.com/WrestleRant. And I think that's about it. So before we get into today's topics, we're going to be talking about Saudi Arabia getting WrestleMania 43. And this is a bit of a breaking story. It dropped last night. More details emerged earlier today via Wrestling Observer Radio from Dave Meltzer. I'll get into that first here on the show today. So we're going to be talking about WrestleMania 43, apparently going to Saudi Arabia, and my full thoughts on that. AJ Lee being back under a full-time multi-year deal to WWE. She is officially back. We spoke a lot about it here on the show last week before we officially knew she was coming back on SmackDown last Friday. Last Friday on SmackDown, they lit it up. AJ Lee is back, and not only is she back for WrestlePalooza to team with her husband CM Punk against Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins at the pay-per-view, she's also back full-time and under a multi-year deal. So I have some thoughts on that. I'll be talking a little bit more about that in a little bit. AJ Styles' shoot promo on Raw, that kind of caused a bit of a stir this past Monday. Quote-unquote shoot promo. It was obviously a work shoot promo, but my thoughts on that, as well as more on that a little bit later on. Some other thoughts on Raw, what's going on with Jey Uso and LA Knight, why I did not like the ending of Raw this past Monday, and also to close out today's conversation before we wrap up the end of the episode, some AEW talk. Now, I thought Dynamite this week was fine, but those ratings keep getting lower and lower. And as of this recording, we do not know what the rating was for last night's show, September 10th. What we do know, though, is the rating for last week's show, September 3rd, and the Collision rating before that. And they were not good. So I want to have a grander conversation about AEW here today. I did ask Mr. Marceau his thoughts as to why he's not watching AEW regularly anymore, because it's not really a him thing. It's more of like, I was going to ask him because as someone who does not watch the product consistently, I was kind of curious because he probably speaks for a lot of people, and everyone's opinions differ, why he doesn't watch the show consistently, why he doesn't watch Dynamite week in, week out. He doesn't watch the pay-per-views anymore. He might watch parts of it or catch clips of it on Twitter. He doesn't watch the full pay-per-views anymore. I was curious as to why that was. He texted me the reason, and it's not just a conversation with Mr. Marceau. It's also just a bigger conversation as to why the ratings are down and why a lot of people's interest in AEW is waning, despite, in Tony Khan's own words, this being the best version of AEW we've ever gotten. If you ask Tony Khan, he thinks this is the best Dynamite has ever been. It has certainly been worse, I'll tell you that much, including earlier this year. But for me personally, I've also seen periods of Dynamite where it's been better. So we'll get into that at the end of today's episode. And I think there's a lot of things that AEW is doing right. I think the all-out pay-per-view should be good. There's some matches on that show I'm looking forward to. But I think the overall buzz around the product is not quite where it should be. And just considering that they are doing a lot better creatively, I love the All In show. I thought Forbidden Door was also a good show overall. It feels like week to week, a lot of the stuff that we get on Wednesdays, and I mean, Collision is what it is at this point, but more so Dynamite, that is their flagship, just doesn't matter with the fucking $500,000 main events for money. Like, who cares? All-star tag team matches, multi-man matches, and WWE experiences some of these issues as well. But from week to week, I feel like there's really nothing overly eventful keeping me engaged as a viewer. I watch the shows regardless. I enjoy a lot of their shows. I review all their shows. I've reviewed every episode of Dynamite since it premiered 6 years ago. But there's still a little bit lacking there with Dynamite that we're going to be getting into a little bit later on. So again, like I said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in live. I appreciate it. We'll go through the chats here for everyone tuning in live now. Let me backtrack a little bit here. Johnny said earlier, AEW should have a cash in the bag ladder match, a bag of $1 million and 10 wrestlers. Don't get Tony Khan ideas. I'm sure that's inevitable. Fernando, what's going on, brother? Said Buenos Dias WrestleRant. He also said Mania to Saudi Arabia is a trash decision, but we all saw this coming. It was absolutely inevitable. We talked about this a while ago, Saudi Arabia wanting a WrestleMania. And quite honestly, it hasn't been confirmed by WWE. There's been a lot of rumblings, obviously, but until they make it official, and even when they make it official, it's not official. Like, we found that out with WrestleMania 42 going to New Orleans. They said, oh, yeah, we're going to New Orleans, we're going to Louisiana, and then they fucking changed it like a couple of months later, and now they're going to Vegas next year instead. They're going back to Vegas. So that is the state of affairs currently in WWE. And there were also the rumblings, oh, we might have a second Mania in the summer. That could be what this is. This could be Mania 43.5. Or part 2, where it takes place a little bit later on in the summer, or in the spring, or in the fall, whatever. I mean, it sounds like it will be WrestleMania 43. I'll get into that more in a little bit, but if it is actually WrestleMania, that does suck. But we'll talk about that soon. Johnny said, I bet Umania is going to be held in Beijing, China one day. I mean, and it's not even against, I mean, first of all, I think that'd be kind of cool. I think taking Mania internationally would be sweet. I think the fact that we waited for so long for an England WrestleMania and they're completely foregoing that and instead bringing it to Saudi Arabia, money talks. We found that out last week with John Cena's last match. WWE's not confirmed this, but it was all but confirmed by WrestleVotes, a pretty credible source, that John Cena's last match will be in Washington, D.C. Now, I put out the short about it on the channel last week, so my full thoughts on it are available there from last Friday. I'm not a fan of that move. I mean, it's still here in the relative Northeast. I was going to go to the Boston one if they were in Boston. They're going to be in Boston in November, just not for Cena's last match. One of his last Raws, but not his last match. So, I don't know. My point is, it all kind of came down to the bidding process, and it was an entire money thing with WWE, that Washington, D.C. offered them what Boston could not, and they're going there instead for John Cena's final match. That's really what it is. It's a business. I'm not a fan of it, but it's a business. Johnny also said, to Graham's delight, there was going to be a 10-woman tag team match on Collision for $500,000. Is that true? Did they announce that? Jesus fucking Christ. I agree with Fernando. We said 10-man tag team matches every week on every show is stupid. Like I said, I mean, I feel like the more they do it, the less special they feel. That's the problem. They just don't feel special to me at all. Johnny said, will you watch the Canelo versus Crawford fight this weekend? Who are you picking to win? The only thing I think of when I see the advertisements for that fight, first of all, the answer is no. Second of all, the only thing I think of when I see the advertisements for the fight, I think back to when we were at Heatwave, RJ and I, a couple of weeks ago. And they just kept plugging it. And RJ said something to the effect of, I can guarantee you not a single fucking person in this building is going to watch or give a shit about that fight. And it's true. Like, they're only heavily promoting it, I think. If that's the fight that you're talking about, they're only promoting it because it's under the TKO banner. A lot of WWE fans, I could see the crossover with UFC. I don't see the crossover with boxing. Boxing is not what it once was. And unless it's like a big fight, like an exhibition specialty type fight, like the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing, which was a fucking disaster last year. Unless it's something like that, I can guarantee you 95, 98 maybe %, and even that's being generous, % of WWE's audience does not give a shit either about boxing or that specific fight. Fernando West, what do I think is the best shoot promo? Johnny said the CM Punk pipe bomb. It probably is. I mean, I'm biased. I love that promo. I'm sure there's a lot of answers that come to mind for a lot of people. For me, the top two that come to mind, and again, there's a lot of other great work shoots and whatever. Maybe from recent years or in years past, the top two that come to mind are CM Punk's and Joey Styles's. Joey Styles's I don't look back on as being the best because I think he was fired from Raw commentary, but he was like back soon after. I think he went to ECW when they started up that brand a few months later. So it really wasn't all that impactful, but people still, talk about that shoot promo 20 years later. Backlash? You relegated me to Backlash or whatever the fuck he said. Those are the top two that come to mind. I'm sure there's many more shoot promos that you could probably list off, but I still go with CM Punk's. Who would I want AJ Styles to face in his very last match if he really is retiring, Fernando asked. What's going on, Maria? Lapdog also here. What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining. Who would I want AJ Styles to retire against? Assuming it's in WWE. I mean, honestly, if he were to leave WWE, I'm not completely opposed to that either. I've said that before. I've been saying that for fucking years. If WWE's not going to treat him as a top star, and at this point he's high 40s, older 40s, I get it, late 40s. But still, I feel like he has a lot more to offer than how they're utilizing him. Now, he's had a pretty good run since coming back from injury earlier this year with a go at the Intercontinental Championship a few times. And, the Logan Paul match wasn't exactly what I was hoping it was going to be at WrestleMania 42. Or 41 rather, earlier this year. But, he's been on TV pretty consistently for the better part of 2025. It kind of feels like he's stuck in a loop, though, with the Judgment Day and with El Grande Americano, who we'll also talk about a little bit later on. But for his final match, I'm not sure. I would say John Cena, but it looks like we're either not getting that match, and even if we do, it would not be AJ Styles' last. Because AJ, if his contract is up in February, I would imagine they would probably want to have him have his final match closer to when his contract expires. So it will not be John Cena. From the current roster, like if you were to go to AEW, there's an Omega he could face. I think Daniels is retired, but like in TNA, there's Kazarian He's not going to have his final match in TNA, but him and Kazarian running it back one more time would be cool. But in WWE, I'm not really sure. Like, him and Rollins, I feel like have had what feels like 1,000 matches. So, not Rollins. Him and Roman running it back would be cool. Maybe Roman. I don't know if AJ would want his final match to be with Roman Reigns. But we never saw that third match from the two. They had 2 matches in 2016, 10 fucking years ago. And they were great matches. But at the same time, they had, what was it? I think the Extreme Rules match and then the Payback match. And there was no third match. And that was 10 years ago. So them running it back would be cool. We just saw him and Cody Rhodes last year. I don't know if there's any real dream matches left for AJ Styles in WWE. We've seen him against pretty much everyone, like Logan Paul even. LA Knight, we saw that a few times last year. Trying to think of who else. We've seen him against Jey Uso before. I'm not sure. Kevin Owens, we've seen him in that. Him and Kevin Owens before. Him and Sami Zayn before. It would probably be some random match. But if they were to make a big deal over it, I don't know, because I feel like he has faced everyone the roster has to offer, including Roman Reigns. But it's been so long since we've seen that match, I would not mind them running it back. But let me know if you have other ideas. Honestly, like, I think CM Punk would be cool. They did have that triple threat on Raw earlier this year, on my birthday no less, which was AJ Styles' birthday as well. Very fun match with El Grande Americano, the fucking Americano one, of course. It might be CM Punk. Like, give AJ a top-tier storyline to go out on. Or Gunther. You know what? We haven't seen AJ and Gunther yet. And Gunther just retired Goldberg a few months ago. Very likely that we could see him retire John Cena in December. Have him go all out and become the new fucking legend killer. Have him retire Goldberg, John Cena, and AJ Styles in under a year. That would be an incredible feat. So I think Gunther's my new answer. But him and Punk would also be cool because Punk and him have never had a one-on-one match in WWE. They only had their run-ins in the Rumble this year and that triple threat. And the last one-on-one match they would have had to have been in Ring of Honor like fucking 20 years ago. So either Punk or Gunther. Selfishly Punk, but Gunther would be cool too. Because we've just never seen that match at all. Let's see. Lapdog said, TK has given the fans what we want. More multiple person all-star tag team matches for money. Lapdog also said, what people always ignore is that these cash prizes are part of the Bucks storylines, a storyline of them losing their EVP titles. TK is using that money that he would have paid the EVPs on those matches. No, that's not true. They were already doing the money matches even before the Bucks lost their EVP status. They've been doing the money matches for the better part of the year. The Bucks lost their EVP status in July. So try again trying to go to bat for AEW because that stipulation, they have also, one, not said that on the show, and two, that's just fucking stupid because the money stuff goes nowhere anyway. They win the money and then it goes nowhere. At least last night they kind of incorporated into the storyline where like the Bucks needed the money because they're down on their luck. But beyond that, a lot of the money matches are just a fucking waste of time. Nathaniel, what's going on, brother? He said, my Los Angeles Dodgers won yesterday. Well, congratulations. He also said my Patriots better play better against Miami this Sunday. Let's see. Lapdog said the women's match on Collision will probably be the Blood and Guts matches. I don't think so, but I guess we'll soon see. Nathaniel said also All Out is next week, and I'm excited for Cope and Christian versus FTR. I think Cope and Christian should start winning matches before going after the tag team titles. Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, it's probably for the better. I mean, I was hoping FTR would win the tag titles at Forbidden Door, and then we would get FTR versus Cope and Christian at All Out. It's probably for the better they're not rushing into that, because this build to FTR and Cope and Christian since Forbidden Door has been fucking ass. Like, the segments on TV are really basic. Like, there's no real life to them. Cope and Christian, I guess, are just back on the same page. Yeah, they really haven't put a whole lot of effort into the build for that match at all. Like, FTR wrestles random matches on Collision. It's like, I don't know. I'm still excited for the match. But if that's the main event, I mean, it might be, because Adam Page and Kyle Fletcher, that should be a much better match. But that doesn't really feel like a main event either, because Kyle Fletcher sure is fucking winning. But regardless, I do agree, though. Cope and Christian should rack up some more wins, at least a few more, before they enter the championship conversation. Richie, what's going on? Richie is joining us here today. He said, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you as well, brother. Thanks for joining. Fernando said, do I think the Cena retirement tour is the worst that I've ever seen anywhere, not just in wrestling. Well, I have not seen every retirement tour ever, so I can't speak for every sport, every fucking medium as far as worst retirement tour ever. It's not the worst. They did definitely botch it. The heel turn really ruined things there for a few months, and it's back on the right track. I thought the Cody Rhodes match at SummerSlam Night 2 was great. I thought the Logan Paul match at Clash in Paris was great. We're finally getting Prime Cena back. I thought the Sami Zayn match on SmackDown last week was great. So at least they're going in strong for the final few months. They really lost their way there from March to August, but thankfully we're back on the right track, which is nice. Worst ever, no. And I am glad they dedicated the entire year to John Cena's last year, to his last year in wrestling. I just feel like it could have been better executed. Richie said, where's that fresh fade at? Yeah, RJ is not here today. Like I said at the start of the show, he is on assignment, let's say. He will be back next week. He was a late-minute cancellation, very understandable. So RJ is busy today. He will be back next week. So the fresh fade will be back next Thursday with WrestlePalooza and all-out predictions. Johnny said, the Death Riders might help Chris Statlander win the women's title at All Out. I could see it. I think Toni Storm has been champion for so long, and they have put so much equity into her as champion. And she's been champion only since February, but I mean, she beat Mercedes Moné. She beat Athena. Not a lot of people beat those two women. So if you're going to have Toni Storm beat them, then whoever takes the championship from Toni should beat her. Like, they should pin her. Even if it's a four-way, the four-way is a good match. It's a great match. Toni Storm has got to be pinned. I don't believe in having these long-ass title runs and then they lose the belt without getting pinned. I just think that's stupid. If they really want to put Chris Statlander over, Toni Storm can afford the loss. Just have her lose. She'll be totally fine. Lapdog said, a Stat and Death Riders would be interesting. I always had thought they were courting her as a ruse since the real plan was Shayna. Yeah, maybe. That's definitely possible. I think Shayna is the best fit for that group. I think Death Riders should really, live up to their depth as far as, like, I want to see the group die off. I have no interest in Death Riders at this point. They are definitely better now than they were a few months ago. I would still like to see the group on the down, on the downslide as opposed to on the ascent by adding more members. Richie with the Matt Hardy and Love Ziggler emojis. Love to see it. Fernando asked, do I think Daniel Garcia joining Death Riders was a good idea? If he's asking me, not Lapdog was very quick to answer that question. No, I don't. Daniel Garcia, the heel turn I can understand. He's been losing a lot this year. I would have rather just seen him turn heel on Nigel and then feud with Nigel and work with other people in the mid-card. Like I said, I would gradually begin the process of killing off, if we haven't already started the process, killing off the Death Riders. Do not give them belts. Let's start fucking moving away from this experiment of the Death Riders because it has been death for AEW for the last year now. It has been mostly terrible. Garcia joining the group doesn't really expedite that process. It gives him something to do, but when he joined the group last night, I mean, listen, that ECW 2300 arena crowd can be loud. They've been a great atmosphere for the last couple of weeks. I was not in the building last night. It sounded like those people did not give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. I like Daniel Garcia. I think he's very talented. I don't know what the end game is here. Like, is this supposed to push the guy towards the main event? Like, him joining the Death Riders / Blackpool Combat Club is at least 2 to 3 years too late. I'm sorry. Just we're at a point now where I just cannot possibly give a shit. Do I think Hook is next to turn heel? I do. It's probably for the better. I don't know if he will, but I feel like that would be more interesting. Lapdog is very quick to answer any AEW questions, but when it comes to Fernando's question about my favorite Halloween costume as a kid, he was not very quick to answer that. But anyway, my favorite Halloween costume as a kid, that's a good question. My favorite Halloween costume ever, I wasn't a kid, but 10 years ago, I did Doc from Back to the Future Part 2. My college roommate and I would frequent Salem, Mass, because I went to school near there. So it's basically Halloween Town there every October and really around the fall time. So we would try to go there on Halloween itself or around Halloween time. And I went as Doc Brown that year. I think on Halloween itself, we only went during the day, not at night. And a lot of people wanted to take pictures with me in my costume because it was a cool costume. It was 2015. That's when they go to the future and Back to the Future 2. So I thought it was a great costume and I thought the timing was perfect. So that was my favorite costume that I've done. But I've also done like prison escaped inmate. I did that in middle school. I did, I tried to do Cal, very deep cut here. I tried to do Calabar's son from Halloween Town 2. No one recognized that costume, but I was also in 5th or 6th grade. So he was basically like a warlock. I did zombie referee. I did vampire. But I think my favorite costume I've ever done was probably Doc Brown from Back to the Future Part 2. That would have been 10 years ago. Richie said, so many other countries were much more deserving of Mania before Saudi, but money is the root of all evil. TKO really sucks. Yeah, it's really a money thing. Really is a money thing. Let me backtrack a little bit here. Let's see. Johnny said, Willow going to feud with Chris Statlander and Marina for the rest of her AEW career. Yeah, seemingly. She just cannot escape the Chris Statlander, Marina Shafir vortex for whatever reason. Let's see. In Lapdog, you are wrong. He said that Willow and Stat are not feuding. That's not true. They've been involved with each other for the last fucking year plus. 2 years, actually. So no, they're not feuding, but Chris and Willow continue to mention each other, specifically Willow mentioning Stat, every week for the last 2 years. So that is not true. Let's see. Fernando said, wrestling is down for everyone. Raw last week had the worst rating in the Netflix era. I will also talk about that. As far as, it's not just AEW. WWE ratings are down as well. But it's more concerning for Dynamite because at least Raw has the Netflix deal. They signed that Netflix deal. They're on fucking Netflix for at least 5 years. I mean, I know the talk was 10 years. They're not going to last 10 years. I can guarantee you. With the way that the ratings are going for Raw, they will not be there 10 years. They are lucky if they get renewed after 5. But WWE, they don't give a fuck about that sort of stuff, at least not as much as they once did. They signed their billion-dollar deals, and you could say the same thing for Tony Khan and AEW. They made their money off their last TV rights contract. But all this talk about WWE wanting to make sure AEW doesn't renew their next media rights deal in 4 years or whatever, I don't think they really have to do much, nor should they. I want to see AEW do well, but it's not like WWE is causing record low ratings to Dynamite. It's not like Raw is running opposite of Dynamite. Dynamite's doing that to itself. I mean, the shows just aren't overly interesting from week to week. The ratings are in the fucking dumpster. WWE is established enough to where the ratings are absolutely an issue. SmackDown got one of its lowest ratings ever. It's not, if not its lowest rating ever. I think right before Clash in Paris. It is concerning for all of these promotions. Like for all the talk about wrestling being hot, and it is, attendance being up for a lot of these promotions and whatnot. It is a hot ticket, but at the same time, if the ratings keep going down, not even staying stagnant or staying at where they are, if they keep going down, it's more concerning for an AEW that is not as established. And if they're off TNT and TBS in a few years, that's a problem. WWE has always seemingly found a way to land on its feet. SmackDown left Fox. They fucking bombed on Fox. The ratings were garbage, probably compared to what Fox was looking for. And that was not a good look for WWE to leave Fox, but then they made even more money off the USA Network deal. And they brought Raw to Netflix, and they're making a shit ton of money off that. They brought NXT to the CW. They're making a shit ton of money off that. AEW is not as set in stone. That's kind of the problem. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Hunter, what's going on, brother? Said morning. Morning to you as well, Hunter. Thanks for joining. Let's see. What's bad about Mania in Saudi? I mean, we'll talk about it. I'm not exactly a fan personally. London is now AEW territory, Lapdog said. They did do Forbidden Door there a couple of weeks ago, and it was a good show. They do like their London shows. Yeah, Richie talking about the boxing. We're supposedly getting Mayweather versus Mike Tyson next year. I did see that. That is fucking awful. But they know it's going to do well, and people will pay to see it. Probably for as much of a train wreck as that's going to be. Millennial Noob, what's going on, brother? He said, hello, how you doing? I'm doing well, Noob. Thanks for asking. Hunter said, AJ versus Gunther and AJ versus Punk are the only matches left. In my mind, yes, because we've seen AJ work with pretty much everyone else. I would love to see either one of those matches. AJ Styles' last match, Johnny says, should happen in Atlanta. I mean, obviously, that's where he's from, so that would make sense. Do we think Dom is winning the AAA Mega Championship this weekend? No. If he dropped the Intercontinental Championship, I think that would have increased the odds of Dom then winning the AAA title, but he's still the Intercontinental Champion after last week's Raw. He could. I honestly wouldn't mind it. At one point, I kind of thought he would. I don't think he is. I think he's probably losing. I think it'd be cool if he did. Then he wore the AAA Mega Championship on Raw, but Only if he defends it, but it doesn't even really matter. I mean, AAA doesn't have a whole ton of shows, so does it even really make much of a difference? Let's see. You said FTR are wrestling random matches, which they have been, but what do you want instead? Do you want Dax versus Christian one week and then Cope versus Cass the next and Cope versus Dax? No, I don't. I'm not asking. I mean, honestly, Cope facing either one of the members of FTR would actually make more sense because they took him out for a number of months earlier this year. But I would like more promos. I mean, FTR wrestling random fucking matches against Adam Priest, and who gives a shit? Who cares? Who cares about fucking Adam Priest or JD Drake? Does anyone honestly give a shit aside from you? I mean, aside from the sickos, does anyone honestly care? I want to see more promos. I think the video package they put out last night promoting the match for All Out was great. But what they had FTR doing instead, like them coming out to argue with the crowd, was stupid. It was a complete waste of time. Did I want to see Cena win the U.S. Championship against Sammy? No. To do what? Just to hold it for the rest of the year? That would have been dumb. So I did not want to see that. Noob said, is AEW really running out of ideas? Like, seriously, we keep seeing the same women in the tag team matches, and now it's for $500,000. This is definitely not drawing ratings. I completely agree. Hunter asked my thoughts on Daniel Garcia joining the Death Riders. I already talked about this earlier, but I'm not a fan. I don't think the Death Riders need him. I don't think he needs the Death Riders. Him turning heel, I really don't mind that much because, I mean, he got over as a babyface, but he lost a lot of his momentum. I mean, the booking with Daniel Garcia has been terrible. But, you know, they gave him the TNT title, a complete afterthought of a reign. And, you know, he's been able to show more personality as a babyface, which is nice. I don't think him joining the Death Riders is the solution to his woes. I really don't. Like, I just feel like that should have happened 2 or 3 years ago. Instead of putting Wheeler Yuta in there, if they put Daniel Garcia in there instead, that would have made way more sense. And honestly, I kind of hope, now that he's in the group, they can get rid of Wheeler Yuta. What fucking purpose does Wheeler Yuta serve in the Death Riders? It's just channel-changing material. Daniel Garcia is better than Yuta. So, I think he's a better fit for that group than him, but to me, it's too little too late. I mean, how much is he really going to benefit from joining Death Riders? Is he going to win the fucking world title? I don't see that happening, so nor should he at this point. Maria says, I really think Daniel Garcia needed a character change bad. He did because he's been kind of spinning his wheels for so long now. I don't know if joining the Death Riders was the answer, but that was just my opinion. What tier would you put Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole's TNT title reigns? I feel like Adam Cole defended the championship more. Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember more about Cole's reign from the matches he had with Garcia on Collision. Or maybe that was Daniel Garcia as champion. I think that's what it was. And then Cole finally won it in like their third match. Daniel Garcia had a few title defenses, a lot of which I just don't remember. They're probably in the same tier. I would probably go B, max. They were not A. If you can't remember many matches those guys had as champion, then how great of a reign really was it? I mean, they were barely on Dynamite. It did nothing to elevate the championship at all. I think Kyle Fletcher's doing that more just by contending for the world championship while TNT champion. That's more than Adam Cole or Daniel Garcia could say. So probably B. I might go C+, because it's like they held the championship, but really did what? Adam Cole was on commentary almost every fucking week, and it's not like he was hurt at that point. Nathaniel said, I did not like Death Riders getting more members, and who knows, maybe Chris joins them. I thought we were moving away from Death Riders after All In. I did too, but apparently not. FDR beating up the cameraman was lame. Yeah, that segment did nothing for me personally. That did nothing for me. Richie said, so apparently Wardlow tore his bicep. That's so unfortunate for him. What a string of bad luck. Yeah, man. I mean, that fucking sucks. We talked about that on Tuesday's hashtag a little bit, but that is awful. I mean, apparently, I was kind of confused on Tuesday when he got hurt. Apparently, he got hurt off the first fucking move. Apparently, when he pushed Swerve or attacked him or whatever, he tore his bicep on the first move. And there was no indication during that angle that he was hurt. But then they put him on Dynamite. It was very weird. Maybe they just didn't know the severity by Wednesday, I guess. I have no idea. But that guy's chances in AEW, he's fucking cooked. He's done. I mean, he might have a better shot in WWE. I always thought that anyway. In the last few years after how AEW booked him or did not book him in the last couple of years. But, I mean, his goose is cooked. I would like for him to come back in AEW and do his thing, but it's probably best he just leaves. Like, any small microcosm of a chance that he had in AEW to do well completely got flushed down the fucking toilet when he tore his bicep at Forbidden Door. Wheeler is going to be a much bigger babyface after being so hated in the Death Riders. Lapdog, I'm sorry, my man. I cannot take anything you say seriously. I am guaranteeing you cannot convince me that you are not a troll account, because that is one of the stupidest things. Of all the things you have said, aside from there have been some dumber things. Of all the things you've tried to argue with me on in the last week, that is definitely one of the dumber things. How the fuck is Yuta going to be one of the bigger baby faces on the show when currently no one gives a shit about him? He might get good heat. To me, that's go away heat. I don't care about Wheeler Yuta. Does anyone honestly care about Wheeler Yuta? He's a talented individual. He's a good wrestler. They have a million good wrestlers. His promos are not so great that he's going to be this big breakout babyface. If anything, that spot should have gone to Daniel Garcia, and then he could have broken out about earlier this year, and then he could have been a bigger babyface. They went with Yuta instead. He is the antithesis of a breakout star at this point. AEW has such a deep roster. If you want or foresee Yuta being a fucking breakout babyface star, is comical to me. I mean, look at the AEW roster. I could probably name you 15 people that would be a better fit for that spot, that are worth investing in over Wheeler Yuta. He gets FU Yuta chance because no one fucking cares about the guy. I mean, come on, man. Johnny cares about Wheeler Yuta. There you go. Okay. We got two people, Lapdog and Johnny, care about Wheeler Yuta. I don't give a fuck about Wheeler Yuta. Come on, man. He's a good wrestler. If you honestly think he'll be a top babyface on that show, or a bigger babyface, a much bigger babyface, you are a delusional sicko. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm sorry. Would I spend the night in a cemetery on Halloween for 50 grand, Maria said? Yeah, for 50 grand? Yeah, fuck yeah, I'll fucking sleep there. I mean, you didn't say sleep in like a coffin or something. Even then, I might have to make an exception. I mean, it would be weird. It would be scary. But spend the night? Yeah, fuck yeah. 50,000. Where can I take the check? Hunter said Wardlow's going to be in Guantanamo Bay forever with all this injury time he's collecting. No, seriously. Wardlow has to be the most fragile big man ever. Maybe not ever. I mean, there were a lot of other people that have gotten hurt a lot more than Wardlow, but man, that sucks. That's just awful luck. How many more 8 and 10-man women tag team matches are we going to see this month? Well, if we get one per show, at least minimum one per show, do the math. It's one per Dynamite, one per Collision. For the rest of the month, it's at least another 6 to 8 to 10-man tag team matches. That makes sense. Lapdog again. I'm not even going to bother at this point, because you are clearly a troll account by arguing with when Wheeler Yuta. You're saying when Wheeler Yuta turns on Mox, watch the pop will be crazy. I'm not saying he's world heavyweight champ, but it will be a nice mid-card. He will be a nice mid-card face. I'm sure he will get a good reaction for breaking away from one of the worst groups in that company's history. Come on, man. Give me a break. A nice mid-card babyface. There are so many people. You cannot honestly tell me by looking at their roster of all the people that are not even on AEW television that you would like to see Yuta featured more on that show than anyone else. If he is a mid-card babyface, I'm not saying he won't be. I'm saying he should not be. There are so many other people that are worth investing in over Wheeler Yuta. But before we go forward with the AEW conversation, I will get back to that in a little bit. I'll probably get back to that at the end of the episode for today, as far as AEW's record low ratings and whatnot. I do want to talk about Saudi Arabia getting WrestleMania 43. Reportedly. It was, I don't know if announced is the correct word, and I'll go back to your chats after we're done talking about this, but I don't know if announced is the right word, but, it kind of made the rounds yesterday that the chairman of the Saudi Arabian's General Entertainment Authority Division, that's his official title, I'm not even going to bother to pronounce his name because I know I'm going to fucking botch it. I am terrible with pronunciations. Turkey, I think is his name. The last name I can't even bother to pronounce, but his first name is Turki. I think it's Turkey. He said yesterday, not that they think, not that they want, but that WrestleMania 43, I believe, unless I misread this, is definitively going to Saudi Arabia. So not next year when they're in Las Vegas, but in 2 years from now, they're going to Saudi Arabia. And like we talked about a little bit earlier on here in the stream, this was inevitable. Am I shocked by it? No. And is it a terrible thing? No. It will happen will get over it. I mean, honestly, a lot of the frustration from fans and myself comes from people wanting to attend the show that are not flying to Saudi Arabia for either cost or out of just, safety and well-being. They don't feel comfortable over there. All of those reasons are justified. But I also think it sets a bad precedent with WWE. This is my bigger problem with it. Because we've had WWE PLEs in Saudi Arabia now for 7 years, dating back to early 2018. We're going to have the Royal Rumble there in January, also something none of us were really looking forward to. I'm sure it'll turn out to be a fun show, and it's nothing against the fans of Saudi Arabia, the crowds there. They've actually gotten a lot better in the last couple of years, and WWE's actually put on some pretty solid shows over in Saudi Arabia. To me, what this shows, though, is that it's all about the bottom line. It's all about the money, and that's what they're going to do going forward. Now, again, like I said earlier as well, I get it to a certain degree because it's business. I don't think they should compromise WrestleMania immediately just going to Saudi for so many years there's been such an outcry for it to go to London or any of these other places first. I mean, they've had almost a residency in Paris and Lyon and France for the last year and a half. And all of those shows were a lot of fun because of the crowds. Those are places, those are great tourist attractions that people will go to, those cities, those countries, and they'll probably go see WrestleMania. It is still a lot of money to travel from here to go there, but those people have been coming to our shows for so long now. To me, it's only appropriate that at some point we take WrestleMania to London or to Paris or wherever. But to just immediately jump into going to Saudi Arabia. And again, they've done like the greatest Royal Rumble before. They've done pay-per-views that they claim are on the level of WrestleMania. They're not. Those shows I don't really give a shit about because they're just lower level Saudi exclusive shows. But to take their flagship pay-per-view, I mean, again, to me, it just shows that it's all about the money to these people. And I sure as fuck am not going to that, most likely. Anything can change. I probably will not be there. I'm sure most people listening to this or watching are not going to be going to that show either. And it's a great thing for the fans of Saudi Arabia. They get an actual WrestleMania in their country. But what's stopping WWE from bringing Mania there every year? They just brought Mania back to Vegas for the second straight year. And for as much of a monster as Vince McMahon does, that is something I can almost guarantee you he probably would have never have done. We'll never know. Like, once he sold the TKO, would he have followed in the footsteps of what Triple H has done and Nick Khan has done in bringing Mania back to Vegas for a second straight year? Or would he have had the, stubbornness that he's always had to keep going to different cities and explore different atmospheres? And, I mean, again, they've been in New Orleans before, at least twice in the last decade plus. That would have been the third time since 2014 for WrestleMania. But to go to Vegas 2 years in a row, it's like, come on, man. What are we doing here? And same thing with Saudi Arabia. It just tells me they're just going to go, and it's always been a bidding process. Like, Mania has always been a big bidding thing. Whatever city bid the most, they're going to go there. But I think it was Ari Emanuel that just said the other day, as far as the tickets are concerned, that they even outright said, I'm shocked he even said this, but honestly, I applaud the honesty. He said Vince McMahon was much more family-friendly driven, and that's why the tickets cost less. But basically what he said also in his statement was that TKO as a whole is more focused on expanding the business and doing as much business as they can. I'm looking at tickets for Raw coming up in a few cities here in the Northeast. And yeah, John Cena's on them, so that will drive up the cost a little bit. But to sit in the fucking nosebleeds in any of these places, $250. I paid less than that to go to WrestleMania a few years ago. I mean, that is unbelievable. And at the rate that they're going to exhaust themselves by only focusing on the money, whether it be with the big-time pay-per-views like a Mania or these lower-level shows. I did see the report that I think WrestlePalooza, as of now, and I think this will definitely change, as of now, WrestlePalooza is only fitting in, 10,000 people into a 17,000-person building for Indianapolis at the State Bridge, whatever the arena is in Indianapolis. They had done SmackDown there over Rumble weekend. I didn't go, but I remember the building because I was there doing interviews and stuff over Rumble weekend earlier this year. That's not good. And that's also on a show that has John Cena versus Brock Lesnar and AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Becky and Rollins. Those are two massive attractions, in addition to very likely Cody and Drew, Io and Stephanie for the Women's World Championship. That should be a great show. But they're outpricing people, and they've been doing it internationally now for the last year or two. And they've been boasting about, oh, the highest grossing event in WWE history, basically throwing it in your face that you're paying absurd prices to be at these shows that are good, but not worth the price of admission. I'm sorry, but $235 for an episode of Raw, and Raw's a good show. I think Raw has been largely a good show from a quality standpoint since it premiered on Netflix earlier this year. But $235? Man, what are we doing? Like, I went to a Celtics game in that same building, the TD Garden last year. Pretty good tickets. It's a great building. I have always loved going there for wrestling shows, whether it be AEW or WWE or the Celtics game I was there for last December. I paid probably maybe a third or fourth of that for one ticket to be in that building in a better seat than I would get for Monday Night Raw. And the Celtics, I think it just won whatever it was. I mean, whoever's in the chat can tell me whatever the fucking references are with sports. They had won the championship the year prior. They were a much better team. I mean, come on, man. I know it's John Cena's last year, but if you look at the prices for almost any show that John Cena's not even on, the prices are astronomical. But for what? And I think we're at a point where they're finally starting to price people out. And I had seen someone say, I think it was Atlee actually, shout out to him on Twitter, Atlee Green. He was here in the chat, I think, a week ago. He had said, I saw him say on Twitter that TKO is adopting the same mindset, or really just adapting the same mindset that they've had with UFC and boxing and applying it to WWE now that they own all three. I don't think wrestling works like that. Wrestling has a much lower, I mean, we're talking about people that, I mean, I'm just, not the stereotype, but I just feel like this is true. When you look at wrestling fans compared to UFC fans, boxing fans, it's not the same. I feel like the UFC fans are willing to pay more, even though the product isn't as hot as it once was. Boxing for top tier fights, I feel like it's the same thing. Wrestling fans, it's a much lower demographic, not demographic, but a much lower tax bracket. I don't know if that's the right word to use, or the right term. Wrestling fans in the whole probably are not making the same amount of money that a lot of UFC fans are, and probably boxing fans as well. For me personally, I like the cheaper tickets. I've always gone to these shows for the cheaper tickets. I don't care about sitting ringside. Whenever I've sat ringside, it's been courtesy of the company or just being in media, whatever. I've never bought ringside tickets. I don't really care about the quality of the seat. Just to me, being in the building, and I don't know if that's me being frugal or what. I just like being in the building for these shows. But I'm not going to be in the building for fucking $235. That's just stupid to me. And with Mania being in Saudi, I think it's the beginning, and it's not even the beginning, it had already started. But I think it's the continuation of a problem that WWE already has by pricing people out. And it's all about the bottom line for them. And I also saw the report as far as the Mania and Saudi is concerned, and this is what concerns me even more. What Saudi wants, they typically get. Now, we've all heard the story that when they first did their first Saudi show there back in 2018, the Greatest Royal Rumble, I don't know if it was Turkey, again, the chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, or if it was someone else. They wanted 3 names on that show. The Undertaker, the Ultimate fucking Warrior, and Yokozuna. Now, Undertaker at that point was still active, but that's why his match on that show felt so fucking random. He had wrestled John Cena in like a 2-minute squash in Mania. They dusted him off again for the Greatest Royal Rumble to have a match with, I think, Rusev or Jericho. I think it was Rusev. He faced Rusev on that show. Or no, it was Jericho. I don't remember. Honestly, I have no recollection. I think I'm almost positive it was Rusev. I think it was a casket match. I don't remember. But Ultimate Warrior's been dead since 2014. The man did not wrestle the match since 2008. Yokozuna's been dead for 25 years. So clearly these people are wrestling fans, or they like wrestling, but they haven't followed the product in God knows how long. I'm sure it's better now than it was back then. That was 7 years ago. But the report now from Meltzer, and again, take it with a grain of salt, is that they want the higher-ups in Saudi, if they do bring Mania there, and it sounds like they will, they want to dust off all the legends and entice people to come out of retirement for that show. I mean, do you think Shawn Michaels would have come out of retirement if it wasn't for that Saudi paycheck a few years ago? It had to have been a big factor. I mean, he had always said that if he were to wrestle again, it would have been a tag team match with Triple H. But why not do that sooner? Why in 2018 and not in 2011 or 2012, 2013? Because of the Saudi paycheck. They wanted a big attraction for that Crown Jewel show in 2018. And it was fucking terrible. Goldberg came out of retirement in 2019. He went on to wrestle for another 6 years. but he had not wrestled in 2 years. He came back for one of those Saudi shows in 2019, and it ended up in a catastrophe for that awful, awful match with The Undertaker that both guys could have fucking died in because it was just a terrible match. Jericho came back for a Saudi match. That was actually his final WWE match to date, was in a Saudi Rumble. Shane McMahon was on a lot of those Saudi shows as well. He wrestled on those shows. Who else? Like I said, Taker, Triple H. His last televised match was in Saudi against Randy Orton. He had a number of Saudi matches. Late 2018, early 2018, he faced John Cena. Early 2019, he faced Randy Orton. The guy was all over those Saudi shows for the first few of them before he wasn't on them after that. But they will probably try to get people that have since retired, like a Taker. I mean, again, Taker is very loyal to that company. He's still involved with them. Would I be entirely shocked to see him come out of retirement for one last match in front of fans? No. I mean, the guy's last fucking televised match in front of fans was in Saudi Arabia 5 years ago when he won that stupid-ass gauntlet match. His last match in front of fans was in Saudi Arabia. You can't make this shit up. I mean, Kane also came out of retirement for a Saudi match, that Crown Jewel match in 2018, which was awful. I mean, to me, it's crazy. So I have no interest in seeing that. I would rather just see a logical card. And to be fair, a lot of the Saudi shows that they've done there in the last couple of years have had logical cards. They've been pretty good shows for the most part. Some not so much, some pretty inconsequential. But there's been some decent storyline-driven Saudi shows. It's not the glorified house shows that they once were in 2018, 2019, early 2020. Since post-COVID, they've been pretty consistent with the Saudi quality shows, which is good. Pretty consistent quality-wise with the Saudi shows. But what I don't want them to do, with it being WrestleMania, is to dust off Taker. Will Cena come out of retirement for that show? I mean, I don't think so, but hey, listen, money talks. Money talks. Jericho, I'm sure, would be on that show. Would Edge be done in AEW at that point? They try to bring him back for a fucking Saudi pay-per-view. He wrestled on a few of those a few years ago. Maybe. Who else? Shawn Michaels, would they convince him to wrestle again? Steve Austin? The Rock? I mean, the list just doesn't end. It doesn't surprise me. And it's going to turn into one of those old Saudi shows from 5, 6, 7 years ago where it's all about the legends and the matches are awful. So that's why I have no interest in it personally. It does concern me. We'll see what happens, though. Is it confirmed? I don't think so, but it's looking likely. I'm not a fan of it personally, but maybe it ends up being not a big deal at all. Maybe it ends up being a great show. I would love for it to be. I also just don't think, to go back to what I said before, it sets a good precedent for this promotion going forward. We'll go back to the chat here before we continue on with the show. Let's see. Richie said, I like Wheeler Yuta. He's a good talent, and whenever he's on my screen, he reminds me to change the channel. Exactly my point. WrestleMania 45 is going to be in North Korea. That wouldn't shock me at this point. If they pay a lot of money, who's to say that they won't be there? The building fits 15,000 according to WrestleTix. Talking about WrestlePalooza. All right. I mean, are they still at 10,000 though? I mean, that's still another 5,000 tickets they have to sell in a week. The fact that they put tickets on sale so late and it's such a last minute thing is absolutely a factor too. I feel like the biggest factor is the price of these tickets, because the prices are just absolutely ludicrous. Johnny said, I would pay $235 for an AEW event over a WWE event. I mean, that makes sense. Let's see. Wrestling fans have mostly been enjoyed by blue-collar folks. The high prices will kill business in the near future. That's how I see it going. Lapdog said, I almost paid $500 for front row seats at Spring Breakthrough. That actually would have been worth it. Would I pay $500 for front row tickets at like a regular show unless it was like a big pay-per-view? Probably not. But, you know, that was actually a great show, though. That was probably the best Dynamite all year. So had you done that, I would not have judged you for it. And people will spend money on whatever the fuck they want. I mean, that's another thing, too. Who am I to say? Do I think it's stupid? I mean, personally, not that, but I'm saying to spend almost $300 on one ticket, not even including like if you go with a significant other or a kid or whoever else, you're paying like almost $600, not including fees, $600. You got to park there, concessions, all the other bullshit. It's almost $1,000 night for a fucking Raw, for a regular Raw. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. TKO does not understand the wrestling business. They understand business, and and they've done a lot of great business for WWE. They've done a lot of great business for WWE. I just feel like it will catch up to them. The greed will catch up to them sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Grunt, what's going on, brother? Great to see you here in the chat. Always a pleasure. Let's see. Richie said the Elder Taker versus Oldberg, one of the matches of all time. That's probably the best way to describe it. Johnny said Sting might come out of retirement for an AEW show in Saudi Arabia. Probably not. I think Sting stays true to his word that he will not come out of retirement. Let's see. Do I want to see Michelle McCool come out of retirement? No, we've already seen her come out of retirement, 3 times in the Women's Rumble? I have no interest in that at all. Let's see. Chris, you're being annoying. Chris, if you're going to continue being annoying, I'm going to have to mute you. Again. How embarrassing would that be to be muted on Tuesday's show and then again on Thursday's show? Don't be an asshole. Grunt said, speaking of tickets, All Out 2025 just surpassed All Out 2021, and we're not that far off from overtaking the first ever All Out in 2019. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, All Out 2021 and 2019 were in that very small Chicago building, and I know that because I was there for that second All Out show. I almost went to the first one in 2019, but I opted against it. Ended up being a good show. 2021 was an amazing show. To me, that's still their best show ever. Thank God they moved on from hosting shows in that building because it's such a small building, and it was a great atmosphere in Chicago. But at the same time, though, it's just they grew beyond it. They outgrew that. They outgrew that building. Well, there you go. Chris apologized. So if Chris continues, then we'll have to mute or block him. Alexis was actually interested in doing it herself, but she's not here today. Again, I don't know why. I told her yesterday what time we were going live. I think she's probably busy again, but hopefully she'll be back soon. She's our moderator. We're lacking on the moderator, so if she's not here for the next couple streams, I might have to pass on her moderator title to someone else. Anyway, Grunt said the fact that they're selling out 15,000 seat arenas at these prices for bog standard Raws and SmackDowns blows my fucking mind. I mean, I think the shows are solid for the most part, but with the prices that they're at, I mean, they will continue to charge prices that people are willing to pay. So if people are paying them and they're selling out the shows, they will make the prices more expensive. That's how business works. It's supply and demand. If the shows are that hot, they're going to keep supplying. They're going to keep paying for it. Would I pay for it? No. But that doesn't mean the vast majority won't. That's the problem. I mean, that's exactly it. Richie said it right there. People will continue to pay those prices because if WWE and TKO continue to do it, and as long as we keep buying, they don't give a shit. That's kind of the big part of the problem. The other thing I wanted to discuss as we go along here on the show, we spent a lot of time on the chat and whatnot, so I don't want to spend too much time on these next couple topics, but AJ Lee returned on SmackDown last week. Great moment. Per Bodyslam.net. She has signed a full-time, multi-year deal with WWE. And I think that's great. I mean, we spoke a lot about AJ Lee last week, so I don't want to spend too much time on it today. But I thought the return was awesome. I thought it was very well executed, made for a great reaction. The online reaction from some people saying that, people were kind of making it out to be a bigger deal than it actually is and all this other sort of shit. I mean, that was completely overblown in my opinion as far as the reaction to that. The reaction itself was not overblown. People upset that people were excited, to me, is weird. Like, just let people have their fun. I think it was an amazing moment. It was very much a big deal for how much she meant to that Divas division at the time that she was there, from 2010 through 2015. And she did a lot for the women's division that really benefited the women in a lot of big ways. And now that she's back, she got that superstar reaction. I hope they can continue to utilize her as the star that she is. I enjoyed her promo on Raw on Monday, the whole therapy chant thing I liked. They set up the mixed tag team match for WrestlePalooza. And that begs the question, now that AJ Lee is back, what do you do with her? Beyond this mixed tag team match, what do you do with AJ Lee? Does she wrestle every week on Raw? Is she only back for a Roman Reigns schedule? When I hear full-time schedule, I think CM Punk's schedule. CM Punk, I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about this. He has been pretty consistent on Raw all year. Like, he has been pretty much on a lot of the Raws, a majority of the Raws for the better part of 2015 so far, or 2025, sorry. I feel like she'll probably have a similar schedule where she's on the road as much as he is. Will she be involved in everything that he is? No, I feel like it ends here, honestly. They might continue to be involved going into whatever pay-per-view they have next. I guess that would be Crown Jewel. But I think this leads into maybe Becky's the one to beat Becky, or AJ's the one to beat Becky, and whether she pins her or submits her, that sets up AJ and Becky in a one-on-one match for that Women's Intercontinental Championship. And if that match happens, I honestly see AJ winning. And Becky retaining the title is not a bad idea at all. She's been a great champion so far. But I could see AJ absolutely winning that championship. And Becky can go on to the Women's World Championship picture where they might need her. They need more heels in that scene. They could utilize AJ at that role with her facing people like Liv Morgan. Roxanne Perez is an easy opponent for her to face. Her and AJ I would not do anytime soon. I would save that for later on. But you have her and Stephanie. Stephanie's a babyface. But there's a lot of people that she can work with. Nikki Bella, if you turn her heel. Asuka. Io Sky is still in the Women's World Championship scene. There's a lot of people that AJ Lee can work with at that level on Raw alone, not even counting SmackDown. So I'm very excited for the idea of AJ being back. All of those matches I want to see. AJ and Liv. AJ and Roxanne first and foremost. AJ and Becky, of course. AJ and Bayley. I didn't even mention that. AJ and Bayley's got to happen. AJ and Lyra at some point. And again, that's just the Raw Women's division, not even counting Charlotte over on SmackDown. Jade Cargill would probably kill AJ, but honestly, AJ's a way better wrestler than Jade, so maybe not. Size-wise, she would murder her, but, they play the underdog story. Honestly, those matches could be fun. AJ and Jade, AJ and Tiffany, AJ and Nia Jax, same thing, where style-wise, or at least size-wise, she would murder AJ, but with AJ being the underdog that she is, those matches could be fun. There's a lot of different stories you can tell, and a lot of different directions you can go in. So I'm excited to see her back full-time, multi-year deal. If that is indeed true, I think she's a big boost to that women's division. Also on Raw this week, I mentioned that they confirmed the mixed tag team match for WrestlePalooza. Also on Raw this week, we heard a shoot promo of sorts from one AJ Styles. Now, this did not air on the regular Raw broadcast. I did not see this until, I think, either during the show or after the show. But AJ cut a promo while they were in commercial. So if you watch it with a VPN, or if you watch it internationally, you saw it. I don't. I watched the regular version with the fucking ads and shit. So I did not see this promo until after the fact on Twitter. And he said something, he kind of just copied what he had said in a video for WWE's socials when he was talking about the Paris crowd in a separate video from the week prior. They put it up earlier in the day or the day before. He said something similar, though, where it's just on him on his own now. Meechin's on SmackDown. Gallows and Anderson are gone. They were fired earlier this year. Omos doesn't know where he is, so he's all on his own. Now, he kind of said the same thing in the promo on Raw. He did not mention Omos. He did mention Meechin and Gallows and Anderson. Now, Gallows and Anderson are not coming back, nor should they. That whole return run was a complete waste of time. That was basically just a make good for the way they were fired years earlier. Him and Meechin have no reason to reunite. Meechin, leave her on her own. Is this leading to an Omos tag team reunion? Like, that was the only thought that I had coming out of it. Like, what is this all about? Are they playing off the fact that AJ Styles' son had that comment on Instagram over his dad being disrespected? I guess so. Is that how AJ Styles legitimately feels? In my opinion, probably not. I don't know the guy, but I feel like if he was so frustrated with the way that he's been booked, then he would have left when his contract last expired. That would have been my idea. Because his contract has expired a few different times in 2019, 2022, last year, and he re-signed every single fucking time. And the booking of AJ has been pretty consistent since 2019. It's not like he was a world champion and then, they dropped him down and whatever. Like, he's been a mid-card guy since 2019. They've put him in world title pictures here and there, but for the most part, he's been a middle-of-the-road guy, although he should be utilized better than that. Is he that frustrated? I don't think so. Do I take him at his word that he wants to retire before 50? Yes, but wrestlers also exaggerate and lie all the time. So that doesn't really overly surprise me. But I do think, he has said a lot, like, the next contract I sign will be my last. He said that 3 years ago, and then he resigned last year, and his contract, it was an extension, I guess. Maybe he was out, and they extended the contract. I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but it sounds like his deal, according to either Fightful or Observer Radio, whatever it was, is up in February of next year, almost exactly 10 years removed from when he initially debuted on the main roster back in January of 2016. Selfishly, if they don't have a grand plan for AJ, they're giving John Cena this amazing retirement tour right now. If they're not going to do something similar for AJ, and AJ's not John Cena, But if they just kind of have him have one more match and it's not really that big of a deal, I would be upset. Now, it's his career. He could do whatever he wants. He has made comments in the past indicating that he wants to be with WWE for like basically forever. When he retires, he could do like be a trainer or something or and contribute in an ambassador role. It sounds like if he really wanted to leave, he would have done so already. Selfishly, though, I would like to see him go somewhere else. Have his last couple of matches last year in a Ring of Honor, probably not the current state of Ring of Honor. It's not what it once was. Or in AEW specifically. New Japan, I'm not really sure if he can maintain that same style that he did 10 years ago. Probably not. He's 10 plus years older. At TNA, I mean, he just made an appearance there. They're working with WWE. If he leaves WWE, he's not going to fucking TNA. Because if he wanted to do that, they could do that as part of this WWE working relationship. He would probably go to AEW. And I feel like that'd be a great fit for him. But I feel like we have this conversation at least once a year, every fucking year. What are they doing with AJ Styles? He's on the show consistently. He's had 2 IC title opportunities in the last month. 2 very good matches. Hated the fucking Grande Americano finish. I mean, what are we doing here? That was last week. He beat him this week. Good. Let's move on from the Grande Americano AJ Styles stuff. I mean, that is so well past its expiration date. And the Grande stuff, I think Ludwig Kaiser plays the role well. Maybe even better than Chad Gable. I don't personally agree with that, but he has a different take on the character. It's not really being progressed at all. The character's just on the show and they're not really doing anything with him. He's just there. And then they have other masked people. I think it's fucking Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, completely wasting those guys with what they could do. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on right now with those guys. But with AJ Styles specifically, it will be a very interesting period next year. Do I see him resigning? Yes. Would I like to see him leave? Yeah. I feel like AJ can still go at a level where he could have some pretty bang-up matches in AEW if he were to go there for at least a few months, 1 match, 1 year, whatever it is. I mean, Kenny Omega has always wanted to wrestle him. Will Ospreay has always wanted to wrestle him. Josh Alexander has always wanted to wrestle him. He can do all of these dream matches in AEW if he goes there. In WWE, to go back to what we said earlier, what more is there left for him to do? I want to see him at the main event level. It seems like Triple H just does not see him at that level. At least not at this age, but he can still go at a point where he can contribute even at that age at a world title fucking level. That's my point. I would like to see AJ as world champion in WWE at least one more time. I just don't see that happening. That's the issue. And it's also an issue of what more is there for him to do. Like with Edge, Edge was only there for his return run for 3 years. But in that time, Edge kind of did it all. He contended for a world championship. He won the Royal Rumble. He faced a lot of new people, a lot of old rivals as well. He had a couple Hell in a Cell matches that were very good. The second one, not so much, but the Seth Rollins one was great. Last Man Standing match. Like, he did a lot. He was also active on Raw and SmackDown. He wrestled on a lot of the pay-per-views, worked with a lot of different names. And then it was time for him to go. And it would have been cool to see him stay in WWE, but again, with no direction, creatively, it was the better call for him to go to AEW. I'm kind of in the same spot right now with AJ Styles. I would not be disappointed if he stays in WWE and calls it a career next February. But it would also be nice if he does stay in WWE, maybe they extend it until WrestleMania. They can give him one last great storyline, build it up as a big deal going into WrestleMania, and he can retire there. If not, if you're just going to keep using him at a mid-card level and giving him some wins over Grande and Chad Gable, but having him lose the bigger matches, to me, that's a waste of what you can do with AJ Styles in the twilight of his career. Figure that shit out, utilize him better. This whole shoot thing, I don't know where it's going. Am I even intrigued? Honestly, not really. Like, it wasn't all that great of a work shoot promo. He could have better work shoot promo on fucking Dixie Carter on TNA Impact 12 years ago when he first was doing the whole dark character going into Bound for Glory that year than whatever we saw on Raw this week. This whole notion like, oh, someone backstage doesn't want to see me work here, doesn't want me here. Who would that even be? I mean, like, we're not getting an AJ Styles Triple H match. I know we wanted that years ago. Triple H had to retire. The guy could die if he wrestles again. We're not getting that match. Are we getting him against fucking Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce? Probably not. Adam Pearce hasn't wrestled in years. Nick Aldis I want to see in the ring, but that's probably not where this is leading. And AJ's on Raw anyway. So I don't know. I'm not really sure why they're even exploring that direction if there is no end game. We don't know if there is an end game, but I get the sense they don't even know where this is going. And if they don't know where this is going and they're just trying to pop the audience and pop the crowd and get us talking, but there's no actual follow-up on this and it's not going anywhere, then I have an issue with it. I think at best, this is leading to an either Omos AJ reunion, which again, I want Omos back on the show. Not with that, though. I mean, I have no interest in that at all. AJ being back in the tag team division, no thanks. That's a waste of what he can do in his final few months or final year, whatever. Or him finding a different partner. He's already aligned with Dragon Lee, so it's not like he's completely alone. I don't know who we would find, who we would recruit to be his tag team partner that's not Omos. And if it's Omos, that doesn't really interest me. That's probably best case scenario, and even that doesn't really do much for me personally. So I guess we'll see. But I also get the gist, they also have no idea where this is going, and that's the bigger issue here, is that they start shit without seeing it through, and it's a complete waste of everyone involved, and a complete waste of our time as well. So before we wind down here with the AEW discussion, let's pull back up the chat, see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Noob said, I'm starting to feel a little bit worried for the WWE Women's Division. Not only that we're going to see them on the Women's Rumble, but to see them at WrestleMania in those bodysuits. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the worst case scenario, but it's not ideal for sure. And I'm sure they're not comfortable with it either, but I don't speak for them. I'm just speculating. Grunt said, have we talked about Bryan Danielson becoming a full-time commentator and his tease of All In coming to the stadium of Philly yet? No, I have not heard about the Philly thing. I have not talked about Danielson joining commentary either. And I'll just tell you now, it's not really a discussion point, but I think it's cool. I think Danielson joining commentary is a great move. He was an amazing commentator for the Cruiserweight Classic a decade ago. I enjoyed his commentary last night on Dynamite, and if he's not wrestling full-time anymore, that's a great use of Bryan Danielson, rather. He has so much knowledge and insight, and he's witty and funny. He's a perfect fit for commentary, so I think he adds a lot to that booth on Wednesdays, especially when Tony Schiavone wears a lot of other hats as an interviewer and backstage stuff. Just give that spot to Danielson, which they did, and I feel like that's a great spot to be in. Noob says, I believe that AJ Lee is going after the women's IC title as evidence of what we saw on Monday. I do too. Johnny says, Stephanie versus Becky for the women's title would be amazing. I think we get that at some point, whether it be for the IC title or the women's world championship down the road. Richie said, AJ Lee versus me, but she beats my ass for 15 minutes. Make it an hour. Make it an hour, Richie. And that's nothing against you. I'm saying, if that was me, why not beat me up for longer than 15 minutes? Why not make it an Iron Man match? You know what I mean? AJ versus Roxanne, I would like to see that. AJ versus Brandy. Fernando, don't you dare wish that curse on us. I think we see AJ Lee versus Becky, a crown jewel, and AJ winning, Nathaniel said. I do too. I think that's where we're going with this. Man, the timeline where he did not resign in 2019, Grunt said. Yeah, I mean, we've heard this story before, but I think the original idea was to have AJ, I think Gallows and Anderson confirmed this, they were all going to leave. And then AJ stayed put. He stayed loyal, and then as did Gallows and Anderson. But if they all left and there was a chance they could, Styles, Gallows, and Anderson would have all debuted on that first Dynamite in 2019 instead of, let me check my notes, Jake fucking Hager. I mean, what a flop that was in retrospect. A nice ending at the time, but man, for the people that we could have gone for that spot instead, that would have been amazing. Top 5 Cena matches in WWE. Him and Punk, Money in the Bank 2011. Him and Styles. I mean, you could say Rumble 2017. I say SummerSlam 2016 personally. Him and Shawn Michaels, the Raw match in 2007. Maybe the Cody Rhodes match from SummerSlam. I don't know if I would go that far personally. But I could see people saying that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great Cena matches, but top 5, I'm not sure. I would still say the Punk one from 2011, maybe their Raw match as well, the Shawn Raw match, the AJ Styles match, maybe Edge Unforgiven 2006 TLC. I wouldn't go Triple H WrestleMania, although that match is a great match. I like the first Rock match, not his top 5, though. I do enjoy that match. 2015, the matches with Owens were great, and the Rollins match was great. Top 5, I don't know, but those would also be honorable mentions. AJ Styles versus Leon Slater and TNA would be amazing, Fernando said. I agree. That match would be great. Leon Slater would love to have that match. MJ versus AJ Styles, that'd be fun. If AJ did go to AEW, top 5s you would like to see him have. Oh, like it today? I kind of named him. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, I said Josh Alexander. I do want to see that because Josh really wanted that match at one point. I mean, there's obviously bigger talent he could face in that company. Let me see. Let me look at the AEW roster real quick. Their fucking bloated roster. I mean, Adam Page is an obvious one. Probably MJF, just because that match would be interesting. AJ and Christian, for old time's sake, from like NWA TNA days, would be fucking sick. From 20 years ago. But for like fresh matches, him and Okada, for old time's sake, would be cool. Konosuke Takeshita would be sick. Really anyone, to be honest. I mean, there's so many people you could put him up against. I'm just looking at the roster. Him and Ricochet we've seen before. Yeah, I don't know. Swerve, probably. Him and AJ Styles and Swerve Strickland would be cool. Yeah, probably MJF for sure. Not Wardlow. He's going to be hurt by that point. Yeah, I think those are the biggest names that come to mind. I would say Alexander, Omega, Ospreay, and then MJF and Adam Page. I feel like any of those would be great. I don't know if they did AJ Styles and Adam Page in Ring of Honor when AJ was there from 2014 to 2015. I don't think they did. But if they didn't, I feel like that match would be cool. Let's pull the chat back up here. Would I want to see AJ versus Cope in AEW? No. Solely because I like their matches in WWE. They were a bit underwhelming, though. A lot of people would tell you that. I think the 6-man tag team match they had, the 6-person tag at Hell in a Cell in 2022, was their best match together, honestly. That also involved Finn and AJ, or not. It was AJ. I'm thinking AJ late. Liv Morgan against the Judgment Day's Edge, Damian Priest, and Rhea. Yeah, I don't know. I would probably not say run that back in AEW for the sole reason that we've seen it before, and those matches weren't amazing the last time, and they're also older now, so probably not. Grunt said, I wouldn't want him to come in and win the world title on or taking a main event spot from Ospreay, Swerve, and Page. But as a special attraction who comes in for a handful of dream matches on pay-per-view, fuck yes. Talking about AJ Styles, he said. He also said an AJ Styles Rey Mysterio team would honestly slap pretty hard. That would be cool. I mean, they've had a lot of matches against each other, but never, I'm sure they've teamed, but I think an AJ Rey Mysterio team would be fun too. I agree with that. Rey also already has his group. Like, he already has the LWO, so he doesn't really need a friend because he already has friends, but I wouldn't mind seeing that. An AJ Rey team would be sick. Would I like to see AJ Styles have one more match in TNA before he's done? No said. Yes, I do. I'm disappointed that he's probably not wrestling at Bound for Glory this year after showing up at Slammiversary. That would have been perfect. Have him wrestle, put him in the Hall of Fame. I know he said, I don't want to be put in the Hall of Fame until I'm done. I get it, bro, but like, they should still work out a deal where he can wrestle at Bound for Glory. That would be sick. Whether it be against Leon Slater or Frankie Kazarian, that would be awesome. I mean, they fucking had Joe Hendry at WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble. And that made for great moments, but WWE got all the social love from that. Let's give TNA a little bit something, and they got the social love from AJ being at Slammiversary. Let's get him in the ring at Bound for Glory. AJ versus Love Ziggler or Veer, those are the real dream matches. I agree. Fernando said, I'm so sorry, I meant to ask top 5 AJ style matches in WWE. Okay, so AJ Styles' best 5 matches in WWE. I mean, the top 3 honestly might be the Cena matches. I mean, the Money in the Bank one, the SummerSlam match, and the Royal Rumble. But if you're only taking one of those, I would say the SummerSlam match. I think the Boneyard match, like as a match, it's not really much of a match, but it was a lot of fun. Him and Daniel Bryan from TLC 2018 is a vastly underrated, excellent match. Him and Dean Ambrose, TLC 2016, or the Triple Threat with John Cena at No Mercy that year as well. Him and Roman Reigns from Extreme Rules 2016, amazing match. I liked him and Jericho at Mania. I don't know if that would be a top 5 match, but it was a great match. Him and Shane from WrestleMania 33. A lot of his best matches were early on, but in the last couple of years, he's had some pretty good ones. Not like great ones, but him and Daniel Bryan also had a great match on SmackDown during COVID that went like fucking 30 minutes or something. Very underrated as well. So those would probably be my top 5. I'm trying to think from like in the last 4 or 5 years, what other matches he's had that would really stand out. He's had some really fun matches, but like best matches of his WWE career, I'd have to really go back and think. Grunt said, Cena versus Umaga, last man standing. That was a great match too. Nathaniel said, I did not like the Rock and Cena WrestleMania 29 match. Did you? No, that match was ass. That match sucked. And Grunt said, oh, Cena versus Bryan from SummerSlam 2013. That's got to be in his top 5. Oh, yeah, that one too. I forgot about that match because it wasn't really much of a feud. It was a brief feud that they never revisited after that. But I would agree with that as well. Totally that match. So while we're still here, before we wind down here, I know we've already been going on for an hour 20. We would typically round down or start to wind down around this point. I do want to bring up one thing before we head on out of here. It was going to be a bigger conversation with RJ, and I probably should have started the show with this since we were already talking about AEW. But it is timely. I can't really wait till next week because the rating is relevant from last week. And who knows what the rating for this week will be. I'm recording this before the rating for Wednesday's Dynamite, before we know what's going to be for the September 10th edition. But we did find out last week after we were done recording what the rating was for Dynamite. And we don't talk about really the ratings here anymore for any of the shows, WWE or AEW. It was a big deal when they first started going head-to-head with NXT and AEW years ago. At this point, to me, the ratings, who gives a shit? I watch the shows every week. I do what we can. I do what I can to watch the shows and contribute and whatever. That's about it. And WWE also, Raw's on Netflix. I mean, the ratings on Netflix are extremely low, which is why I don't see them being on Netflix past the 5 years, but they made their money with it. SmackDown on USA, they made their money with it. I mean, SmackDown got booted off of Fox, but the ratings are still not great at all, but they made their money with it. AEW also made their money with their most recent media rights deal late last year. But yet the ratings really have not improved at all. And I've said this before, it would be one thing if they stayed in the same ballpark of 500, 600,000. Not amazing numbers, but if you are to stay consistent, that's, I mean, at least that's something. But to me, it's concerning to go from pulling in over 1 million for several weeks in a row in early 2021, which was, again, 4.5 years ago. I completely get it. But at the same time, AEW is not the same product that it was at that point. I mean, they did 472,000 viewers last Wednesday's show. That is awful. That is terrible. That is the lowest rating they've ever done for a show that was unopposed on a Wednesday in its normal time slot. Collision the week before, the August 30th episode, 195,000 viewers. Again, normal time slot, unopposed. And you can always make the argument, oh, this was on, that was on. I'm sure last night when the rating comes in not great today, it's going to be all the news coverage of the assassination from yesterday. And that would make sense. I understand that. But last week, there's no excuse. I mean, I'm sure there was a sports game. There's always fucking sports on. I mean, football's been around for decades. It's like with the Raw ratings when we used to say, oh, ratings are down, and people would complain about that. The Raw ratings have been down for years, but WWE also just signed a massive fucking deal with Netflix where they don't have as much to be worried about. The product itself with AEW, it just feels like there's a lot less to talk about. I mean, there's really not a lot to talk about here on the show every week with RJ because he doesn't watch it consistently. But when I asked him why he doesn't watch regularly anymore, he said there's really nothing must-see about the show. And honestly, I agree with him. He said MJF kind of stands out as one of those guys that he likes to kind of keep tabs on. The Death Rider shit he said is terrible. I think it's improved. I know Grunt has said that as well. The Death Rider stuff has improved. But when you watch week to week, when you watch the show, I've really made Lapdog upset in the chat. But it's true. You look at the ratings and they're fucking deplorable. And a lot of these shows just aren't that exciting. And again, you could say the same thing with WWE, with Raw, and with SmackDown, especially NXT. But at least with those shows, it feels like there's more to talk about, good, bad, or indifferent. The consistency with Dynamite is typically solid, but it just feels like the direction as a whole, like I'm not going to say I agree with everything that Bubba Ray said on Twitter, Bully Ray said on Twitter a few weeks ago, last week, whatever. I can almost see to a sense what he means by lost. Like it just kind of feels like they're going through the motions right now. Adam Page had his big moment. Okay, where are we going? Like they have Adam Page as a champion, Tony Storm as a champion. I think they're two of the best performers in that company. What are the overarching stories that are keeping this company moving? They had that overarching story with the Death Riders and it was fucking terrible. We're away from that stuff now. The Death Riders are still around. They're still not overly interesting. At least they're not channel changing, but it's still not great. What incentive do people really have to watch these shows on a week-to-week basis? If it's just the matches, I mean, say what you will about Raw and SmackDown, there's great matches in both of those shows every single week. The AEW matches are typically better. But if I want great wrestling, I'll watch WWE. I'll watch TNA. I'll watch Ring of Honor. I'll watch a fucking indie show. The wrestling to me, at one point, might have been the incentive 6 years ago when you didn't have as much great wrestling across all these companies. You get great wrestling in all of these companies. What you need are better characters, more stories. I'm not going to sit here and say AEW has no stories, but they just don't have enough of them or good stories. Because they watch these shows. They watched the show last night. Why the fuck was Tony Storm and Sky Blue a street fight? Who gives a shit? It was a good fight. They had a good match. I know it was a street fight because they were in the ECW arena. I'm not dumb. But because we see that stuff so often, it's not special. We get 8-person, 10-man, 40-person tag team matches every single week on the show. They're not special. They're not special in the slightest. You put money on the line. Why should I care about these fictional characters winning fictional money? With the Bucks, it at least makes sense because they've been down on their luck for so long now. That I can understand. But even that, like if the Bucks are supposed to be down on their luck, why are they winning half of their matches? I could not sit here and tell you one memorable all-star tag team match this company has done and name every single person in it because they've done so fucking many of them. I have no recollection of any of them at all. The matches for money mean nothing. The all-star tag team matches mean nothing. The wrestling is good. Great. I'll watch a local indie show to get my fix of great wrestling. What are these matches really accomplishing? And no, it's not furthering stories. Nothing is being furthered. It's the same issue with WWE, but when you put people in the same matches together every week, that's not furthering a story in a meaningful way. And to me in WWE, or rather in AEW, it's worse because it's just the same matches every week. Like it just kind of feels like we're stuck in this holding pattern of there's really no reason to tune into these shows. And I don't know. I don't think the excuse is they're at the ECW arena. It looks smaller. People won't want to tune in. I think the ECW arena atmosphere is great. Whatever arenas they've been running this year have looked awesome. But it's definitely a problem, and I think it's a great idea to run smaller buildings. The buildings, they look a lot better. They sound a lot better. But they were still running big arenas earlier this year, and it looked like garbage. And they finally thought better of it and went down to smaller arenas. But what has changed in the last 2 years to where, not even a year and a half, they were at the TD Garden for 2 different shows. Granted, they were bigger shows. One was Mercedes Moné's debut. The other one was Blood and Guts. They've not been back to the Garden since. They're actually going back to the Agganis Arena in Boston for their next show there in a few months. I'm glad they're going back to smaller buildings, but is that not a step backward for the company? Is the idea to take a step backward or take 2 steps forward? That's what I'm hoping the idea is here. Let's take a step backward, do smaller buildings, focus on building up some real stars, some great stories. Oh, I'm so excited to watch next week. It just doesn't really feel like there's something I'm so excited to watch next week. That's the problem with AEW right now to me, and why the ratings are in the fucking shitter. I mean, Raw's ratings have been going down for years. There's also a problem there too. And like I said earlier at the start of the stream, it is a widespread wrestling issue to where for as much talk, and it is true, both things can be true. Let's keep that in mind. For as hot as wrestling is, it's so much cooler, culturally relevant now than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. That is absolutely true. But at the same time, for as much as these attendance numbers have gone up for WWE and merch numbers, and they're making more money than ever before, their ratings still are not great. And I think social media has a lot to do with it. AEW fans, WWE fans, I know a lot of people that are fans that don't watch the shows unless I either watch it with them or they just catch up on the clips on social media because there's so fucking much of it. At least with AEW, you only have 2 shows. With WWE, I would only stick to the 2 shows too. If I was not reviewing the shows, NXT hardly feels worth watching most weeks. I thought this week's show was good. But they definitely need to focus on their next step. For AEW specifically, they need to focus on where are we going, creating more great... And they have an amazing roster, that's the thing. They have such a great fucking roster. And that's why it bothers me. It just kind of feels like there's no overall direction. And I'm not saying we need this big new heel faction like we always have. But the general question is, with people tuning out at record rates, for AEW specifically, they're not established enough to where they can get away with it like WWE has. I wish WWE suffered a similar issue where their product was so bad. I mean, honestly, at a point it was, to where they really couldn't get any media rights deals 10 years ago. They were fishing around other networks, and they had to stay put on USA. That was sad. That was a bad look for them. Vince was very embarrassed by that at the time. I don't want to see that happen at AEW. I want to see them do better. And they made a lot of money, like I said. They did enough right off of that last media rights deal to earn that deal. The pay-per-views being on Max is a nice step forward. They have a lot of great pay-per-views. Their pay-per-views are far better than WWE's. Most of the time, their pay-per-views are far fucking better. Whether you like wrestling or not. And there's a little, there's too many matches in the AEW ones, and they run a little bit too long, but they're still typically better shows. But the week-to-week, the pay-per-views to me are not the problem. The buy rates for the pay-per-views are usually pretty strong. They're making a lot of money off those shows. It's the weekly shows I have an issue with. Like, it's not the overall company. To me, it's the weekly shows. Collision, I mean, the quality can be solid sometimes. Dynamite is their flagship. I mean, that's really what they should be focusing on and try to do a better job of getting people to watch week to week and giving people more of an incentive to tune in. That is my biggest issue with the show right now. And I really feel like there's a better chance that they could get to that point if they just put in the effort to either, again, creating bigger stars and more exciting storylines with the stars that they have. Like, even to me, one of the better storylines they were doing was the MJF and the Hurt Syndicate thing. That was interesting. They legitimately stopped it cold turkey because one of them didn't want to work with MJF. Then why the fuck did you accept him into the group in the first place? Like, real life shit. Why did you accept him into the group in the first place? That shit's got to stop. If you're letting whatever the expression is, but when you let the inmates run the asylum, that's the expression. That's when shit gets out of hand. And they got to focus on that sort of stuff. And hopefully, with each baby step, they ultimately get back to where they should be as far as making these shows more interesting. Now, can you make the argument 4 years ago that these shows were carried by debuts and returns? Yeah, but I just feel like the quality of the shows and the stories they were telling in 2021, specifically going into 2022, were just far more interesting. There was just a much better vibe. I don't care about restoring the feeling. That shit's just stupid to me. They've been saying that for years. Oh, we're going to bring back the win-loss records because that's restoring the feeling. It's not. The win-loss records are fucking dumb. They're not going to stick to it. It's dumb. And they quickly got rid of it again. Restoring the feeling to me is just more meaningful shows. Make these shows more interesting from week to week. With more stuff, I want to tune in to watch. Because if I wasn't just watching the shows to watch them, and I do enjoy them, I'm not excited for Dynamite most weeks. Most weeks, it's just kind of a show that's there with some good wrestling on it. We need more than that. Let's go through the chat one more time before we head on out of here. Yeah, Rock and Cena should have only happened once. Yes, ratings were down for all of wrestling last week, but it's been a consistent downward spiral for AEW specifically, Lapdog. Let's see. But again, Raw's on Netflix, so I mean, I'm not saying they're completely out of the woods, but it's an issue they should be concerned about with the viewership. They will be off of Netflix in 5 years, but the problem with WWE is the numbers on Fox were ass, but they were still able to sign a lot, like make a lot of money off of SmackDown going to USA. I don't know if AEW is going to have that same sort of pull in 5 years or 4 years. I guess we'll see. Grunt, I can't lie. The last minute announcement of that 10-man tag popped me, LMAO. Tony is a coward for not calling it an all-star tag on top of it. Maybe they did on commentary. I don't know. I think part of the problem, this is a small factor. They've been trying something new where they announce a lot of their matches last minute. I think that's stupid. I think if you just rely on the idea, oh, it's Dynamite, 8 p.m. this Wednesday, and then rely on social media that, like, people are not going to be like, oh, I got to watch Dynamite tonight. I saw the match announcement on fucking Twitter. No. What I think they did a great job of in years past, when they first started out, was announcing the matches for the next week, the week before. And I know shit changes, but WWE wasn't really doing that at the time. And I think that was a big advantage they had over WWE. And it made them stand out in a positive way. The smaller arenas have been fantastic, he says. Grunt says, do I think AEW could ever run MSG? Do you think TKO cares as much about other wrestling promotions running it as Vince McMahon did? Yeah. Oh, no. Do I think they would... I mean, yeah, like Lapdog said, they would totally stop AEW from doing a show there. I mean, I don't know. I forgot how Ring of Honor and G1 Supercard, like the New Japan show, I don't know how they got away with it in 2019. I absolutely think, I mean, there's been proof that WWE, not just MSG, but they have blocked WWE from going to certain arenas in the past. That has been proven. And I think they would try to stop them from running MSG. Do I think it would do well? Like the Garden? I don't know. The smaller Garden that they were for NXT earlier this year? Definitely. But like the Garden? No. I mean, they did that New York show, the Arthur Ashe show, 4 years in a row, and the attendance was lower and lower and lower every single year to the point where now I don't think they're even doing it this year. they're focused on other markets instead, which I think is good. We would typically have it right around this time of the year, and now we're not getting it. So definitely something to keep an eye on. As far as, I think if they weren't going to do well at Arthur Ashe in the last 2 or 3 years, they're probably not going to MSG, even if they could. I just don't see it going well, unless it was the smaller building within MSG. Grunt said, streaming and almost immediate YouTube uploads have definitely affected ratings for sure, and the YouTube clips have been a thing for like a decade. I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I appreciate that, Grunt. Yeah, no, I think you are right, though. I mean, like, they were uploading WWE. I mean, their ratings are down too, but like, the streaming is part of it. But I mean, it is easier to watch the show now. For Dynamite specifically, they're on a fucking streaming service. I mean, if you don't have cable, it's I pulled cable. I'm not watching cable anymore. They're on Max. Like, you can download Max for $10 a month and watch Dynamite and Collision there. So that's not really an excuse anymore. But with like the YouTube clips, you're right. That's been a thing since the beginning. AEW, even over WWE, they've been posting like almost full fucking matches and segments on their YouTube channel since the get-go. So why is that much? I feel like the problem is AEW still has a lot of fans. I'm not saying the problem, but a big problem. People may not just want to watch 2 hours of Dynamite. To me, I think a lot of people would rather just catch up on the YouTube clips. The YouTube clips were there 6 years ago. Yes, 4 or 5 years ago as well. They've always been there. WWE, same thing. I feel like I know a lot of people that just catch up on shit through social media. There's only so much time in a day. You need to have something on your show, whether it's Raw, Dynamite, doesn't matter. You need something to compel people to tune in live. To tune in live where you can't miss it, I can't be spoiled, I don't want to wait after the fact. I mean, that's me with most things. I don't want to be fucking spoiled. That's why I watch live most of the time, in addition to just want to. But I think for a lot of people, they know they could just catch up on social media afterward. They always could. That's been the case for 15 years now for fucking Twitter and WWE. The difference is, maybe not in 2012, but like there was a point where you felt like you had to tune in. But because it became so routine that the shows were so fucking bad, and I'm not saying Dynamite's bad, but it got to a point where like, all right, I don't need to waste 2 hours on a Monday or Wednesday night watching the show. I'm just going to catch the social media clips. A lot of people just get burned out. They still want to follow it, and they still do. They follow the accounts, but they just don't watch live. I feel like that's a big problem with all of wrestling, but we need to attempt to fix that because I don't think these people that are paying these big deals care about, oh yeah, you have a lot of YouTube views? Yeah, we'll give you a great TV deal for that. No, they care about the numbers and the advertisers. That's really what they care about more than anything. Nathaniel said you don't like Raw on Netflix. Like the fact that it's on Netflix, it honestly doesn't bother me. It was weird when they first announced it, but it's at a point now where I actually prefer it because it allows me, I mean, if it was on TV, I could still watch it anyway, but since it's on Netflix, I can easily skip through the commercials. It's available immediately to watch on Netflix on a phone, tablet, computer, doesn't matter. I actually prefer it on Netflix. The streaming quality has been fine. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of just used to it. Grunt said, me, a Canadian, having to pay $30 a month to watch Dynamite and TSN. Do they not have HBO Max, Grunt, in Canada? So you can't watch it on Max? Because that way you could just watch, you could just watch it on Max. But I guess it's not a thing in Canada. I don't know. I don't know how that works exactly. But this has been a great conversation, guys. I appreciate you all tuning in to today's show. A little bit longer than usual, even without Mr. Marceau. I did go on a bit of a tangent there with AEW and the Mania stuff and AJ Styles. We had a lot to get into and a lot of great people chatting in today, so I appreciate all the activity in the chat. We will be back next Thursday here in WrestleRant Radio with Mr. Marceau, very likely, breaking down the WrestlePalooza in all-out predictions, so stay tuned to that. Before then, though, I'm going to be live here on the YouTube channel next Tuesday for #AskGSM, episode 616. Earth 616, like from Marvel. So keep an eye out for that. Grunt said, nope, I wish. Oh, I guess you can watch it on HBO Max in Canada. That sucks. Man, I don't know why that is. That's so strange how it works. And it's not like you're in a foreign country, you know what I mean? It's in, you're not far from us at all. And the fact that you don't have it, but we do, is very strange. Raw gets 900,000 in the U.S. What's your point? I mean, yeah, it's not a good number. I even said that before. I said my piece on the Raw numbers and the Dynamite stuff. Are you repeating that from earlier because you want me to acknowledge it? Because I did acknowledge it. I don't know if I said it, but okay, I don't know what your point is. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Shout out once again to the channel members: Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, Daniel Malcolm, RJ Marceau, John Ritland, Richie, and Average Grunt. Thank you, fine folks, for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. More information on how to become a channel member down below in the description box. In the description box as well, check out our Pro Wrestling Tees link, prowrestlingtees.com/WrestleRant. We got a WrestleRant shirt, a WrestleRant Christmas shirt, and a WrestleRant Halloween shirt, just in time for October. So be sure to check that out. There's deals going on all the time, I think, with like, Labor Day sales, stuff like that. So always check back to the website, purchase the shirt, support the brand. And like I said earlier, new episodes of WrestleRant Radio available, video version first, right here on YouTube, typically Thursday mornings, Thursday afternoons. So stay tuned on that front. But also the video version goes up, or the audio version rather, soon after on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all major podcast platforms. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and be sure to be notified by hitting the bell button. You'll be notified every single time we upload new content here on the channel, and every single time we go live. Yeah, you never mentioned the actual number of viewers in the U.S. No way does Netflix renew. I said that earlier. I don't think Netflix renews. I don't even think they make it past the 5-year mark, let alone the 10-year mark. But you gotta acknowledge the AEW issues as much as you do the WWE issues, my friend. I certainly do. I try to draw the line right down the middle. If WWE has a problem with something, we talk about it here. You can't be lapping it up, so to speak, for AEW and not WWE and vice versa. If you watch one show and not the other, that's totally fine. But at the same time, you gotta, acknowledge both sides, call it down the middle, and not be biased. But regardless, my friends, thank you for tuning in as always. Always a great chat. We'll be right back here on Tuesday. But before then, like I said earlier, my WWE Unreal Season 1 review drops on the channel this Sunday. So stay tuned for that. If you're looking forward to that, or if you watch the show and enjoyed that when it dropped on Netflix about a month or so ago, you have that to look forward to on Sunday. Until next time, guys, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Enjoy Thursday Night Football tonight, and we'll catch your ass down the road. Take care, folks.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.